Hey y'all, welcome back to Right at the Wire. We're going to continue our Royal Ascot coverage with another race from day three. It's the Ribblesdale Stakes, and it's for 3-year-old fillies at a mile and a half, and looks to be a pretty wide open affair. So, should be some good opportunities. So let's get into it. So the Ribblesdale Stakes is an interesting affair because we don't see mile and a half races for 3-year-old fillies, and we didn't see one for 3-year-old males this year because the Belmont was running a mile and a quarter. So this is a really interesting race, and I think it's pretty wide open. You take a look at the field here, and Diamond Rain is the favorite, and it's only her third start. You know, you got Charlie Appleby and William Buick. We all know the kind of damage they can do. Uh, and this is a big girl in watching her run. It's only her third start, as I mentioned, and she's stretching out for the third consecutive time. Ran a mile and a quarter last time. Really have to trust the connections here. She really didn't. I don't know how much she really beat in a 5-horse field last time, but what I was pretty impressed with was her turn of foot. And I think she has the pedigree to get a mile and a half, so I'm not going to worry about that. And the firm ground looks like it'll be fine for her. I'm just a little skittish about the price at 13 to 8 and only her third start. But and the other thing is, Charlie Appleby hasn't been the greatest at Ascot the last couple of years, so those two things make me a little reserved about her, and perhaps we can find some value elsewhere. But I think Diamond Rain is certainly one to consider, but uh, is a kind of a lukewarm favorite, I would say. Kalpana is one that is obviously the second choice and one that bears consideration. But I really didn't like the last race. She had no excuses on a straightaway 10 panel course, no turns meaning. And she lost a Friendly Soul who basically freaked out that day and ran back well below what she had done in that race. So I think that was a just sort of a freakish performance. Kalpana has improved steadily, and she ran uh, a good pretty poly with another top. But I can't get past the fact that she was second all the way around the track last time. And I mean, her pedigree, she's well suited for the distance. And, Andrew Balding, Ocean Murphy, I mean, there's good connections there. But I have some reservations. And again, this race seems kind of wide open, so I'm looking for more of a price. I wouldn't blame you if you wanted to use her, but I'm going to try to beat her. You Got to Me is the one that I really like. She ran a credible fourth in the Epsom Oaks, and it was her fourth straight improved effort. This one just has that classic progression, getting better with every race as the class levels progress. You guys have heard me mention this a lot, and it really is a sign of a horse who's ready to run yet another big one. They haven't been monster improvements, they've been steady, which is what you like to see. In the race prior to the Oaks at Lingfield, she wired the field and she did so with really good determination because they looked like they were getting to her in the stretch and she just was able to gut it out and did what a good horse should do is just get on the lead and win the thing. So I really liked what I saw there. She held off Ruby's a Red, who was really flying down the stretch. Um, and Ralph Beckett is a really good, or Rafe, depending, is a really good trainer. And he has good success at Ascot. The added plus is the win two back was on firmer turf than she'd previously run at. So the firmer ground that has been the case at Ascot, not going to bother her. So I really like You Got to Me at 17 to 2. I mean, that's some nice value there. So I really like You Got to Me here. Port Fairy, I thought had a bad beat in the Chester Cup, but it was a career best effort. She had the look of one that's kind of hard to ride. It looked like Ryan Moore was really hooking into her to get a run out of her, but she did produce a decent close. And I think at 10 to 1 might be a little short for me, but I think is one that you can't have to respect those connections. Aiden O'Brien, Ryan Moore, and the fact that Aiden O'Brien has a couple in this race, and you have to believe Ryan Moore gets the first call. So I think that's a really good sign that he stuck with Port Fairy. Forest Ferry beat Port Fairy in a battle of the ferries in the Chester Cup with a late rush, but the Epsom Oaks really had no excuses and saved all the ground, and then was able to duck out and just couldn't mount an offensive in the stretch. And I thought that sort of was a sign of a horse who's kind of plateaued. And I don't see one that's really going to factor in this race. Danielle is another one there's been some talk about. And the one thing I did notice is that she is progressing, but the margins of progression are getting smaller each race. And she had a third behind You Got to Me and Ruby's a Red at that race I talked about at Lingfield. And again, she had every chance and could not get to You Got to Me. You might be able to take another move forward, but I have my doubts whether it'll be good enough. At 12 to 1, that is decent value, but I'm looking elsewhere. Rubies Are Red is another one that there's been quite a bit of talk about. This is an Aiden O'Brien. And like I said, at that race at Lingfield, she came flying down the stretch and just couldn't quite get to You Got to Me. Sort of ran out of time. But really, the issue was more that why was she lingering back there? Why did it take her so long to get into gear? The reason I mention that is that she followed that up in the Epsom Oaks with just a non-factor performance. Didn't do a bit of running. So, and you couple that with the fact that Ryan Moore was on her at Lingfield and has chosen to go with Port Fairy. And I think that has to be significant. However, the one positive that you can take from it is that big race at Lingfield was on firmer turf than the Oaks. So perhaps the better footing is going to help this one. And you are getting Rubies and Red at 16 to 1, who offers some nice value. I would never underestimate Aiden O'Brien, despite the fact that Ryan Moore has gone to Port Fairy. Maybe Port Fairy needs a little more work or somebody to really dig into her. That may be the case as well. But I think Rubies and Red is certainly one we have to think about. Ciola had really didn't have any excuses against Diamond Rain in that 5-horse field, but did take a move forward on firm ground in only her second start. And you do upgrade jockey wise to James Doyle, and I think that's significant. This one sort of had to look like there's better in the offing. And I think, could take another step forward. And if so, at 16 to 1, offers some nice value. So I think Ciola is one to consider. Um, the rest of them, really, as you go down the list, I didn't really see a whole lot. Lava Stream, to me, looks like a bounce candidate because she ran significantly better in her last race than she had her previous two to that. And I think if she did take a move forward, I don't expect it would be good enough. And to me, looks like one that's going to regress a little bit. So I don't really want any part of her. And then Queen's Fort really needs a big jump to compete at this level in her third start. Now, I'm not going to underestimate John and Thady Gosden, but this one seems like it's a really big ask. And given the connections, I wouldn't be surprised if she becomes an underlay. And then the last three, I just don't think are good enough. They haven't really demonstrated that they are competitive in this group. So that's a rundown of the field. Now we take a look. I'm going to the five that I'm considering that I want to use. Like I say, You Got to Me is the one that I think is a very logical win candidate. Um, every time the class has stepped up, she's responded. And I really like that race at Lingfield because she did what a good horse is supposed to do. They just put her on the lead, knew she was the best, and showed some grit in the stretch. I don't know if they'll put her on the lead in this race, but if they do, she could very well wire this field. It's entirely possible. I think at 9 to 1, you're getting a square price, and I really like her in this spot. Diamond Rain is certainly a horse to consider, particularly the fact that she's a big girl. And you've got, great connections, and the fact that they're showing the kind of confidence to put her in a Grade 2 race in her third start, I think is a pretty good indication that this one has some potential. So Diamond Rain certainly one to use. Again, then we have the two Aidan O'Briens, Port Fairy and Rubies of Red. I think are very logical. Rubies of Red, maybe I just have a feeling on the firmer ground returning to it, you're going to get a max effort out of. And at 16 to 1, I think offers a lot of value, and that would be my value play in this race. And then we'll throw in sort of the project horses, Port Fairy and Ciola. They've demonstrated some potential, but I'm just not sure they're quite there yet. But I think either one of them could very well run a big one here and surprise. And you're getting a price, which is the most important thing. So if we look at the wagering, I'm going to key You Got to Me as the win candidate, and in an exacta key box with Diamond Rain and Port Fairy. I'm sorry, that should be Port Fairy and Rubies of Red. So it'd be 13 with 2, 8, and 10. I think they're the most logical. And then again, we'll use the Omni Swinger because, especially in this race, where I think there's shock value everywhere. So let's do an Omni Swinger 2, 8, 10, 12, and 13. And I think this is going to be a fun one to watch. Really pretty wide open race, I think. So I hope our analysis helps you a little bit with your own wagering strategy. I wish you the best of luck, of course, as always. And be on the lookout for more postings for Royal Ascot as we move forward in the week.